its own. We'll see. I don't know if it will. It's struggling. It's a strong crosswind. That doesn't help. So you can see that's straight ahead, right? But we're pointed this way because we've got a 31 to 30 knot crosswind. Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome to Lufthansa Cargo Operations. Now, this is something we've done in the past with FedEx, and we may do it with FedEx some more in the future. It's not really a series per se, not an official series. I suppose it could be if you guys really got excited about it, but I wanted to do something a little different, and as you can see sitting before you on the screen, we have a Boeing 777 aircraft. Now this is the 777 from CaptainSim, and I know that there's a lot of feelings about that out there and we may talk about some of that as we go along, but I will just say that with a couple of mods that are available from the community out there, including the guys who do the Salty Sim, it is a much better aircraft than what you initially purchase, and so it is not only flyable but far more functional. Long way to go yet, no doubt about that. It's certainly not at the quality level of the PMDG that we have grown to love and adore, but it's usable, it's tolerable, it's decent, and quite frankly it's the only 777 available for the sim right now. And if you're like me, you love to fly a triple sim, or a 777, and so you know, this is what we have available. So with that in mind, we're going to start a few flights here, Lufthansa Cargo Operations, and today we're going to fly from their main base, EDDF, or Frankfurt, up to ENAN, which is all the way up in the northern part of Norway. It's Andoya, I believe is the way it's pronounced. I could be wrong about that. It's not a flight that they normally do. It's not something that's on their route. It's something different that I thought would be fun for you guys and for me. I don't know how challenging the approach is going to be. It does have a nearly 10,000 foot runway, so we got plenty of room to work with up there. But I do know that there are some great add-ons for the scenery in the area. It should be a beautiful approach, especially this time of year. It is summertime after all. And so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So with all of that said, what do you say we climb up in the office and get to work? And welcome to the flight deck, ladies and gentlemen. As has become our practice, let's start with a look at our flight plan for the day. Again, it is EDDF to ENAN, or Andoya. If we take a look at the operational flight plan here, we're pretty close to our scheduled departure time, so that's going to work out pretty good. We're looking at an air distance of 1,173-ish nautical miles. I think it's a little bit more than that. The fuel is going to be interesting because I added 10,000 pounds of extra fuel. You can see that right here. And I did that for two reasons. One, because I still struggle to trust the fuel calculations in these bad boys. I know that you can fine-tune them in SimBrief, but I didn't have the information to do that anyway. With the Salty Simulations add-on, the fuel burn should be more accurate. So part of the reason I did it was just to see how it works out, and to see what we have left, right? And then with that, the other reason I did it is when I initially tried to start up this flight, which is something we're going to talk about as we go along here, when I did the engine start, it gave me a low fuel warning, and that was at the fuel it was at before. So at least this way it doesn't give us the low fuel warning on engine start. So we're looking at a block fuel of 78,048 pounds. We can scroll on down here. Here's a look at our route really quick. Now I can tell you right now that even when we load this from SimBrief, it stops here at Somub, and I'm not really sure why it keeps doing that. But there's an easy way to square that away, so we'll take a look at that when we get there as well. Again, here's our block times. We should be pretty close to our departure time. give or take 30 minutes knowing us. Cargo is 233.5 thousand pounds, payload 234.2. Zero fuel weight's 546, which is just 1,000 pounds under max. That was intentional. It's a heavy load, which is going to put us at our max takeoff weight and our max landing weight. So again, both those are intentional. I wanted to make it a heavy flight. It'll be our first trip ever going up to ENAN, and we got lots of stuff we're taking up there. Something I don't talk about very often is you've got all the information on your waypoints down here, which can become quite handy. But with this newer version of Sim Toolkit Pro, you also get some information on those over here. This is the lat and long for each waypoint, which is really handy if you don't want to scroll through this and you need to add a waypoint to your FMC. And it gives you several options, and we might see that depending on whether or not it loads in the entire flight plan today. So there you have that. We'll use our load sheet here for putting in our loads, and that should be good to go. So that takes care of our flight briefing. I did want to show you real quick the weather here, so I'm going to bring this over as well. This is not something I do frequently. If it's something you guys want to see, let me know. But if you pop this guy up here, you see you get an expanded view. And what I want to look at real quick is significant weather events. You see there's quite a few isolated thunderstorms out there. That's what this means. Isolated embedded thunderstorm at flight level 340. Same thing at 340. And then there's going to be one right along the edge of our route at flight level 290. So we want to keep those in mind. These ones over here, this is turbulence. I forget what this little symbol down here means, but this is a symbol for turbulence. And then the severity of the turbulence is different symbols, and it's been a while since I looked at those, so I'm not going to try and explain them right now. And then we've got our moisture. So coming as of right now, coming into Andoya up there, it looks like we may hit some weather coming in and a little bit coming out, and you can see there's obviously scattered clouds in the background when we were in the sim. So that's the basics of our weather, and then you've got our wind component as well. Looks like we're gonna have a tailwind for about half our flight, well, a little more than that maybe, and then it's just starting to swirl around as we get up here. So it should make for an interesting approach, probably a slightly turbulent approach. So I just wanted to go over that real quick because I don't usually show you guys the weather briefing. That takes care of our flight briefing as a whole. Let's climb back into the flight deck and get to work. All right, so my intent here is to do things a little bit differently. Instead of just kind of reading down checklists and flows, we're just going to kind of go through things. I may talk as I go. I don't know. It's kind of habitual. And then I'm going to try and remember to pop the checklists up somewhere on the screen here so that you can see them and, you know, see what the checklist items are, basically, if that makes sense. I'm sure that does make sense. It seems pretty straightforward to me. So what I want to do here is I want to start out, obviously we got to get power on the aircraft, and then if you come down here you can see that salty appears on the FMC here. It's all the same stuff that you get from your salty 747. You link your sim brief the same and so on. So just something to keep in mind there. This is where we're going to do our payload, but before I do that I want to go ahead and get the IRS alignment started. It does take about 7 minutes total. So we'll go to our position initialization, copy our current GPS position and put it right in there, and that's going to take care of starting the alignment process. Now the timer does click down even if you don't fill that out, so I'm not sure if it will actually align even if we leave that if we leave that blank. I think it might align anyway. I don't know. I haven't tried it. Either way, let's go to our payload page really quick. This is where that load sheet's going to come in handy over here. So we're looking at we're going to put the numbers in this side, and this is part of the reason I don't have the APU running yet, because when you do this, it's going to send the fuel to 0 and then fill it back up. And the problem with that is if your APU is running when you do that, it's going to shut your APU down. And then it's just a pain in the butt. You got to like turn it off, and you got to wait to be able to restart it. I don't know why that is. So our payload is 234,207 pounds. So we're going to go 234,207, and then we're just going to put that right here where payload is, just like that. Same thing with fuel. So block fuel is 78,048 pounds. So 78,048. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I've done this a couple times, and it changes some numbers on its own. Not in here, though, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get there. Click on execute, and that's going to take care of that. You saw how the fuel right here in the center went to 0, and then it went to 78.1, and then it's doing the payload I'm not sure why they have it set up to do it that way, but it's fine. It doesn't make any difference to me. This tells you how much is remaining. This tells you what's currently in there. Probably be the fastest cargo load in the history of mankind. And it's almost done there. And boom, 234,207 pounds. Back to our menu, over here to FMC. And now it's so that takes us through, you know, part of our pre-flight all the way up through the FMC initialization. The only thing that I missed here is the lights. I did square away my lights, so I can turn them on and off as needed. So it should be nav light on right now, and then the rest of those can stay off. The next checklist is going to be the cockpit preparation, which is going to include all these switches that I got going right here. And so the idea here is just to make things a little bit quicker. When we want to start the APU, it's that, I believe it's the left forward pump. I know it shows up on here somewhere. I don't know, I'll find it. It's on one of these checklists. You might have already seen it, but the yeah, left forward fuel pump pressure light should be off. That's part of the cockpit preparation checklist. And so that takes care of basically our pre-flight and our cockpit preparation all in one. Now, just so that we're clear on this, there are a lot of things that you're actually supposed to do, right? So the Aorous would have to be turned on to start the alignment process, and then we go through and we look at our flight computers. You know, this is obviously power. The gens go on. You can't do anything with these. Drive disconnects. You can't do anything with those. Window heat. One switch clicks all of them on. You can do the left and right outer or the primary hydraulic pumps here, but you can't do anything with these or with these. We can turn the seatbelt sign on. We can do some of the lights, but not the master bright, not the storm lights. None of these can be, you can't do anything with EEC mode, or you can't do the fire overheat test. Obviously start switches work, but auto start doesn't do anything. You can jettison fuel, I suppose. I haven't tried it yet. Fuel pumps obviously can be turned on. Anti-ice can all be turned to auto. For some reason, on these two, you have to click down to turn them to the right. That's the only way to get them to turn. Obviously lights here work. Upper and lower recirc fans would be on. We can't change those anyway. Left and right packs are to auto. Can't change those. Trim air on. Can't change those. Can't change any of those, but you can do the engine bleeds down here. And then that's it. So all of that is part of our cockpit preparation checklist, which also includes setting up the MCP, but we're going to include that at the end of setting up our FMC, because again, I'm trying to just do things a little different. So we'll get to that here in just a second. So one of the beauties of the 777 is it's a pretty easy aircraft to learn. I did a full flight tutorial for the PMDG version. I'll try to remember to put a card or something for that up here. But my brain just completely went blank there. It's pretty easy aircraft to learn. That's what I was getting at there. So because it's pretty easy to learn, we can also go through things relatively quickly. But one of the longer aspects for us is going to be getting the FMC set up. That's what we're obviously going to do right now. We've taken care of position initialization. You can put the reference airport in there. I've never gotten gate to work. So we'll go to our route and we're going to request it. Now, this is because I've linked it with SimBrief. Now, if you don't know how to do that, go look at one of my Salty 747 videos. It's the same process in there. However, it's not difficult, and Salty's put out, the guys who do the mod for the aircraft have put out a couple videos on it too, and I'm just kind of bumbling my way through. We're going to load it. You notice how it took a second for ENAN to show up. I've had that happen before. Also, there's actually should be at least 3 pages for the route waypoints, and there's only 2. Now what's interesting is I'll execute that and then see how this pops up right here. So when I look at my flight plan, STM, let me just pull it up over here. So STM is, where is it at? It's the waypoint after SOMUB. You notice how this just popped up all of a sudden. Now this is something that is both interesting and obnoxious to me. I find it obnoxious because the proper waypoint should already be programmed in there. But nonetheless, what I can do here is I go to STM. It's the NDB 345. So if I select that, now it's going to put that. It should put that one in there. And now you see we got 3 pages. Isn't that interesting? But actually, just so you know, I don't know why that flight number uplink keeps popping in there. It should be 4 pages. So actually, no, it did it right this time. It wasn't doing that for me before. So it was stopping at SOMUB, and I think it was because that page would pop up for me to select which STM I wanted, and I was just bypassing it. I was like, why is it doing that? And I just move on. And so then I had to go in here and put in Z200 out to SKG, but we don't have to do that now. So keep that in mind. If there are multiple waypoints with the same name anywhere on the globe, I don't know if you noticed, but go back in the video if you want and look. Those are very far apart. Those 4 options that were available for STM are very far apart. They're in different parts of the globe. So why it's asking me to pick which one, I'm not sure. But there you have it. So let's go to performance initialization. Now, this one, I learned this already. Just accept it. I have to just accept it. And the reason I have to just accept it is because it's not going to let me change certain things if I don't. So I just click on accept and leave it alone. But you notice that it changed my zero fuel weight to 552, and that is higher than what we're scheduled for 546. But it did not change my fuel. Let me get to a view here where we can change this back over to the fuel page. It didn't change my fuel. So my fuel is still 78.1, but my zero fuel weight is higher, which means we're going to burn more fuel. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. Cost index is 850. Go to our thrust limit page here. And we're going to use full takeoff. We're going to need it because we are heavy, and I'm going to tell you this bird is going to climb slow. I've done a couple of practice runs on just getting this thing up in the air, and part of the reason is this actually my 4th attempt at making this video, and that is because I keep having problems with stutters, really bad problems with stutters, and it's been driving me insane. V1, rotate, V2. I mean, we're talking bad stutters, and the kind that really annoy you, you know. So it goes for like two or 3 seconds, and then freezes for like half a second, and then goes for 2 or 3 seconds, and then freezes for half a second. That is so frustrating to see. Now, somewhere I saw like a video or something. We're going to 240 initially. Somewhere I saw a video or something that said, hey, if you're having a problem with stutters, you can do this. And I found one, but I don't think that was the answer. At one point, I removed our pushback toolbar. I put it back in because I don't have a way to push back without it. And so I don't know. I'm really hoping we're not going to have stutters on this. If we do, I sincerely apologize in advance. I'm trying to get it worked out, but I'm only having it with this aircraft. And what I saw somewhere is something having to do with like an auxiliary fuel tank or something like that, or a stabilizer fuel tank, and something that you can do to square that away so that you don't get any more of those stutters. But I cannot find that anywhere all of a sudden. So if you know what that trick is you're supposed to set the stabilizer fuel tank or stability fuel tank to 0 or something like that, and it gets rid of the stutters. I don't know why it does that, but I can't find where you're supposed to do that at. I have no idea. So do me a favor, down in the comments, hook a brother up, would you? That takes care of setting up our FMC and our MCP. We didn't change our V2 speed, so it was 141. So V2 should be 141 plus 10, so 151. We're obviously going to try and exceed that. This bird is seriously heavy, like seriously heavy. So another reason that that weight might have changed, it might have to do with the fact that Salty has tried to get the weights and the fuel flow and all of that stuff correct on this aircraft with their mod by using the real world numbers. And so I'm hoping that that's what's causing that change. But anyway, that takes care of FMC setup, MCP setup. We're pretty much ready to push and start. I'll be back in just a second. That's what we're going to do. Alrighty, folks, let's fire up the APU here. And while the APU is firing up, I do want to show you something here. The APU on the status page, it doesn't show that it's doing it. At least it hasn't. I had the same problem with the Salty. Sometimes it would show, sometimes it wouldn't. I haven't gotten it to show on here yet, so no dice. But anyway, let's take a listen to the ATIS. It's 118.730. Oh, that is one of the most frustrating things to me is when your mouse moves off of it and it scrolls in. I'm sure there's a way to change that. 730 is what we're looking for. This is going to help us determine our taxi and departure, which we're going to brief right before we push back. So 730, let's listen to the ATIS.
Frankfurt Airport information, Quebec 1300 Zulu. Wind 257 at 14. Visibility 6. Sky condition, ceiling 6,500 feet overcast. Temperature 28. Dew point 10. Altimeter 29.901. ILS runway 25 center, ILS runway 25 left, and ILS Yankee runway 25 right in use. Landing and departing runway 25 center, runway 25 left, and runway 2...
Okay, we get the point there. Alright, so with that in mind, right before we push and start here, let's look at our taxi and departure briefings. I know this isn't the way I normally do it, but that's what we're going to do here. So you can see where we're at on the airfield. We're going to take runway 25 left. And this is why before we set up our pushback, we need that ATIS, because if we push back with our nose to the right, we're going to be pointing the wrong way. So I don't really need to explain our taxi because we're going to go from here to here. I think you guys will get the gist of that. Now here's the kicker. It's going to be the departure. So we're technically scheduled, for the Maroon 3K departure, which is the one we're going to end up using. But if the wind was the other way, we'd have to use the Maroon 9D. We don't need to use that now, so we can get rid of that. So looking at the Maroon 3K departure, it's very straightforward. Transition altitude is 5,000. I'm not able to change the transition altitude in the FMC, unfortunately. That's just not a feature available right now. So hopefully that'll be one of the things they get to in their next update. But anyway, moving on. It's going to be max of 200 knots at or above flight level, or not flight level, but 1,740 feet here. It's almost an immediate left turn. And then we're going to follow our waypoints out of here. So we need to be at or above 2670, max 200 knots here. So the trick is going to be maintaining our speed more than anything as we go through this. And what I'll probably do is, rather than just use the VNAV speed, I'll probably control the speed myself with the just manually on the MCP. So it's sort of manually, right? You'll see what I'm talking about when we get there. But we're going to need to be keeping flaps down. Now, one of the things I've noticed, and you'll probably see this when we get to it, is as soon as you go to autopilot on this aircraft, it likes to do a nosedive. I have no idea why, but it does. So we may have to manually fly most of this just to make things happen. Now, the other catch is we got to get above these altitudes. We do have some distance to do it, but this aircraft is not going to want to climb fast. You're going to see what I'm talking about when we get in the sim. But that's the basics of our departure there. So we just need to be prepared to really watch the aircraft closely and make sure we're hitting our altitudes on departure. So with all of that said, get that out of the way over here, and we can push and start. I did put pushback toolbar back in here. One thing I learned from this, do not zoom out. Just don't do it. I'm going to tell you right now, because as soon as you do, oops, I clicked the wrong one over there. As soon as you do, we need the tail to go to the left. So click and drag. I'm telling you right now, click and drag. Because as soon as you zoom it out, that little airplane, that green airplane right there, is going to go away. And what am I doing here? We need the nose to go to the left. I said the tail. As soon as you zoom out, that little green airplane goes away, and you can no longer use the program. Well, you can, but you can't pre-plan your pushback. So we're going to click right there, hit enter. Our pushback's ready to go, and so we're going to request pushback. I don't think there's a tug there. Yeah, so because we're not hearing anything, that means there's no tug in front of us, which means all we do when we're ready to push back is release the parking brake. So that's what we're going to do. And then see the hold button there? It's holding us right now. So if I click that, it's going to start pushing back. Real quick, let's just make sure that APU gen is on. It is not. Turn the external power off. APU gen is now on. If we go to our before start checklist really quick, cabin and cargo doors, and I'll try to remember to pop this up. Cabin and cargo doors are closed, armed, and locked. External power is disconnected. We can't do anything with the hydraulic pump selectors except for the outer ones. Remember that, right? So we can put these guys on, and that's it. But it's talking about all of these need to be on auto, and then the left and right fuel pump switches all need to be on as needed. It's just these four. And seatbelt sign is on. Beacon light can come on now, especially we should have done that with the APU anyway. And then the recall switch doesn't work. Okay, so undo the hold. It immediately starts pushing back. We'll go right into our engine start. It is an auto start, so we're just going to left click over to start, and then introduce fuel right away. You'll see it's an auto start. I just didn't have it on the engine page. So there you go. It's an auto start. And once the engine's running, that'll turn green and say running. And then the green running will go away in a little bit. And this lower ICUS is not correct for the 777. This is one of the huge complaints that people have about this, is this thing piggybacks off of the default 747 of the Sim. And originally, even this upper ICUS had these square engine instrument indicators, right? And the problem with that is those are for a 747, not a 777. These are proper, or at least semi-proper, for a 777. I don't know how accurate they are, but they're definitely better. But the lower ones, I couldn't find a mod that shows those differently. And there's a lot of functions that don't work as well. So, for example, so we've got the electronics on there. Hydraulics didn't do anything, right? Yeah, hydraulics don't do anything. You've got your fuel on there. Air doesn't do anything. There's your doors. There's your gear. There's your flight controls, which we'll use in a little bit. And then you got your status page and your engine page. I haven't tried to switch these either. See how it's green now? It says it's running. I don't know how well you can see that. It says it's running now. So that means that engine's running, so we're good to go. Ooh, that was quick because I'm zoomed in so much. So go up here, left click for engine number 1. Same thing. Bring the fuel in, and it goes straight to auto start. I'm going to finish the pushback, let the engine start up. We'll come back on here, and we'll taxi, and we'll get going. Alright, the engine start is complete now. This is one checklist we definitely want to make sure we keep an eye on here. So I'm going to go through this one. Left and right generator, this is the before taxi / after start. Left and right generator control switches are on, and that's these two out here. They are on, and the lights should be off. That is the off light that was underneath before. APU selector switch can go off. There we go. Now that light, if you turn this off, right, so I'm off here. If I click this, it'll give me a warning down on the ICUS. I'm not going to do it. We don't need to. Engine start selectors should both be in normal. That's these two up here, of course. Left and right pack control switches, auto and lights off. We can't do anything with the packs anyway, but those are these two up here. And then left, center, and right isolation valves, you can't do anything with those. They all should be on auto. Engine bleed air switches are on. And then flap set. Now we can turn the APU bleed off. I don't know why that's not on here, but APU bleed can go off. And then we'll come down here. Now we need to set our flaps. We're going to be doing flaps 20. Now one of the things I dislike here, bleed off arm. Oh, I guess they want you to leave it on. Yep. Coughing in your face. Okay, so flaps 20. So that's 1. That's 5. I don't know how well you guys can see that. That's 15. And then that's 20. Now here's what this drives me cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Alright. The stabilator trim. I don't have a trim setting. Like, I don't know what my trim setting is supposed to be. It doesn't show me a trim setting down here, which I've grown used to and is very, very helpful. But I don't have that available to me, and I don't think it's on the next page either. But we'll look just in case. Yeah, there's no trim setting on here either. So without a trim setting, I'm left to guess. Well, part of the problem with being left to guess is not only am I probably going to guess wrong, and I know, listen, I know there's a way to calculate this stuff. I know that can be done, but I don't have that available to me at the moment. And yeah, I forgot to do this one. I just saw this, 2991. I don't have that available in front of me right now, and so because I don't have that available, I'm not able to do it. Does that make sense? So I have to guess on it. When I did a practice flight, if you will, and it wasn't even a full flight, it was just to get used to the aircraft, I put this at 9.2, and on takeoff it gave me a warning, a config warning, because I was outside of the green. But at 9.2 it struggled to climb. So I don't know. I'm going to put it right on the edge of the green, 8.2, and we're just going to see what happens with that. I don't know what else to do, right? Let me get to the proper view here. That's not it. It was that one right there. Track IR coming on. Now, my biggest concern is whether or not it's choppy, right? Okay, that's my head centered there. So center the view, and let's get the brakes off. Now the ground roll on this thing, listen, I'm all for the ground roll being nice and smooth. I think that's the way it should be, but you see how quickly that thing, now my throttles were also up a little bit, so yeah, it's this thing rolls really easy on the ground, especially for as heavy as it is. That sign is in a bad spot. This is the default airport. There are some add-on fixes for this that are free that you can get, and then I think there's a payware version. I'm not doing a payware version of this airport. In fact, I have not done a single payware airport yet. And honestly, I just soon keep it that way. I just don't want to, you know, the scenery really overall is very good. And there are so many absolutely amazing creators, content creators out there that are, you know, taking their local or their favorite airport and really just doing an amazing job of cleaning them up, making them look good. And there are some free add-ons to square this one away. I believe this was supposed to be one of the premium airports. If you bought the you know, premium version of the sim, this airport should have been one of the premium ones, I think. But I don't know. Either way, I'm going to get up to the hold short line here, and then for the sake of video editing, I'm going to break away for just a second. We're going to come back, and we'll roll right into our takeoff procedures. Sound good? All right, let me bring my track IR back on here. Maybe a little jump. There we go. Not too bad. Okay, before takeoff procedures, landing lights need to come on, as well as runway turnoff lights. Strobe lights need to come on. I did fix my switches so that I can bring them on. We should be on TARA, but I don't think we are actually. So let's go to TARA. Not sure if this works, but I'm pretty sure that I presently have traffic turned off because you can't see anything. Is it just me, or are we missing waypoints here? What happened? Straight to maroon. Oh my goodness, that will not do, folks. So let me just turn the track IR off there. Let's hop down here. So you know why? Nope. This is 100% my fault, because when I set up the FMC, I talked about it, but I did not do the departure and arrival. Ouch, that wasn't pretty. It is the maroon 3K. There we go. And we are taking runway 25 left. There we go. Execute that. And now when we look at our legs page, we've got all of these guys. Wow, I can't believe I actually forgot to do that. You guys are supposed to call me out on that. I know one of you would have too. One of you would have caught that and been like, hey! Either way. Let's go back to our takeoff page. Okay, so yeah. Listen, I don't want to say that there's any realism in that, because I don't think there is. That was kind of bad. Now we've got our waypoints in there, though. Auto throttle is on. LNAV and VNAV are both armed. The clock doesn't work. Imagine that. So far, I haven't had any choppiness. Keep your fingers crossed. Transponder mode is on TARA. Track IR coming back on. There's our little jump right there. And do I have to center it up again? No, I think we're probably good. There's no brakes. Now look, I'm going to put in a tiny bit of thrust, and it starts moving almost immediately. Now let's be honest, as heavy as this aircraft is, I don't think so. I just don't think so. I don't think it's going to go that quick. But that's alright. Now here's another thing that I've noticed about this, and this is the same in the Salty Simulations mod. You guys may have noticed this. There was a little chop right there. Don't do that to me. Oh, it's starting. See that? I know you see it. So it's a stutter. It's not so much a chop as a stutter. We're gonna suck it up and hope it goes away, but if it doesn't, please somebody tell me what is the fix for that, because it was fine a minute ago and all of a sudden it doesn't want to work. Anyway, going back to what I was talking about, the toga mode on this is very slow to get to full thrust, like very slow to get to full thrust, which is both frustrating and terrifying, actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to 60% N1, give or take a little bit, and then we are going to hit the toga button with the brakes held on and wait till it gets to 75 before we release the brakes. I'm like left of center here, so we're going to stay right there. Okay, toe brakes on. 60% should be right around in there, I think. It's a little light. Okay, now watch, just look over here at the N1, okay? There's toga. So I've already hit the toga button. You see how slow the thrust is coming up? This is why I'm waiting until we get to 75 before we release the brakes. There's 75, we'll release brakes. Get the aircraft centered up just a little bit more. There we go. And it's still, the thrust is still climbing. That's those stutters. It's atrocious, you guys. That is so freaking atrocious. It has got to be one of the worst things in the world. It really does. Look at that. That is, and I have no idea why it's doing it. I think it has to do with whatever that stability tank thing is. There's V1. Let's see if we're able to fly even. There's rotate. Come on. Up and away. Oh, the stutters. I am so sorry for those of you guys. I really am. I don't know what to do about it right now. I have literally tried this flight so many times. Gear coming up. See, now I'm going to bring in a little more nose up trim because I am fighting to keep this thing going. It's still stuttering. It's not as noticeable once you're in the air, obviously, especially because we're looking mostly at sky. Alright, so I'm just trying to follow the flight director here. Obviously, I'm a little bit offline. Just go easy on your trim because it does tend to overreact to the trim as well. Yeah, those stutters. I really, really, really hope those stutters go away. Come on. Just trying to follow that flight director. I really hope those stutters go away, you guys, by the time we get where we're going. Boy, I just flat out overshot that thing, didn't I? Look at that. Holy cow. Because we're going to have to turn left here in a second. The flight dynamics on this aircraft are, let's just say they're not great. They're not great at all. What are we at? 2,500? Okay, watch what happens here. I'm going to go to autopilot. Now watch. Immediate nosedive. And it's not going to just level off. It's going to go towards the ground. See this? Look at this. Look at our vertical speed. What on earth is that all about? That's insane. Why would it do that? That's obviously a problem with the autopilot. Serious problem with the autopilot. Anyway, there you have it. We still got stutters. I am going to try and get you a halfway decent bit of elevator music here. We'll see if I can find a way to make that work. Please, if anybody knows how to take care of those stutters, please tell me down in the comment section. I really want those stutters to go away. Those are so bad. Let's go to flaps 1 here. We are over the speed limit, so to speak, but we're going to deal with it. Okay, after takeoff checklist. Landing gear is up. Auto brake is off. I didn't even set the auto brake, did I? Why is that not on the... I missed that. Ooh, it's a good thing we didn't have to do a rejected takeoff, isn't it? Oh man, I'm making a mess of this thing. Once we get above 10,000, landing lights will come off. Seatbelt signs will stay as desired. We're just about to cross 5,000 feet, and we'll go to standard on the altimeter. Just adjusted my view there. So there's 5,000 feet right there. So we can go to standard. Bam, because that is transition altitude. We're just above the flaps up maneuvering speed. We're at 250 knots. The reason that I haven't changed it yet is because, well, we're already past DF 994, which was a max of 230 knots. So I think we're good now. So we can bring the flaps all the way up. And let's see, is it going to just hold 250? It is, and that's fine. The autopilot's not great on this, you guys. You can see it's cutting inside the turn, so we're not actually over the waypoint. So now it's got to turn back to the left. So there's plenty of issues with this aircraft. Why are the auto brakes on just disarm? Either way, there's clearly lots of little issues there's lots of little and lots of big issues with this aircraft. I will say it was $20. If it had been a penny more than that, I don't think I could have done it right now. But being that it's... Here's the thing, you guys know, and I'm just going to make this real quick, sort of my rant. I've been a supporter of CaptainSim in the past. Even when they had aircraft that a lot of folks thought, hey, this could have been way better, some people were really complaining. I didn't disagree with those. But at the same time, you know, I supported CaptainSim, and I've even done, I did a promo video for their 737-200, you know, I did a tutorial for their 757. I mean, I've been a supporter of this company. I'm really disappointed in what they chose to do with this aircraft. You know, there was nobody else working on a 777. They could have taken, you know, I don't know how long, 6 months, a year, and just put some time into actually building a good 777 instead of just piggybacking off of the default stuff. Now, I'm not trying to trash the company. I'm not trying to badmouth the company. Those stutters are still happening, though. And if those stutters are a result of their aircraft, holy guacamole. Shame on you guys, man. Like, just your lack of effort is appalling. It really is. It's an appalling lack of effort into this aircraft. And the original one they released, which I think was the 200ER, was $30, and it still is. Now, this one is a standalone at $20, and then the 300ER, I think it is also a standalone at $20. But even at $20, come on now, I spent $20 on this airplane, but to get it to even begin to function properly, I have to use a free mod from the community, which I'm really grateful for. Thank you very much to the Salty Sim guys. But even with that, there's this stutter issue, and it's only happening in this aircraft. That's a problem. There's a problem there, and as far as I can tell, CaptainSim's not doing anything about it. Now, I reached out to them to try and talk to them about this aircraft, and they didn't even respond. And I didn't reach out in a nasty way. I just reached out like, hey, you know, but whatever, doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit here and rant and rave about it the whole time. There are some issues with the aircraft, but it's flyable. Whatever that stutter thing is, Lord, if I can get rid of that, I will be so happy with this airplane for now until somebody releases a good 777, which I believe PMDG has plans to do. So I'll be looking forward to that. I'm sure you will too. That takes care of my rant. That takes care of our after takeoff checklist. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for some of that obligatory elevator music.
You can see the riding on the pavement. Young kids, they're growing up in basements. Online, a whole new generation. I'ma make mine, so you better go take it. Always, they need a new replacement. Decentralized, can't contain it. We're changing lives, yeah, upgrading. Call it suicide of the older generation.
What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
Alrighty, folks, we're about 30 miles or so from our top of descent. The FMC did not show the top of descent right here until about 40 nautical miles. So I had already calculated it. I was pretty close. It's going to be near Aorous. So I was pretty much kind of gearing up for it anyway. It did show it on here. The little green dot there, you can't really see it because of the waypoint Aorous underneath it, but it does say top of descent there. So I was already preparing for it. We did do a step climb up to flight level 340. I'm going to crank this all the way down to 1,500 feet. You'll see why here in a couple of minutes. There we go, 1,500 feet. And just looking real quick at our descent checklist. So in the FMC, we want to verify the arrival and the approach. I've already got those programmed in there. We're going to do the brief on them here in a minute, but just so that you can see. So it's the SKG-5U arrival. We'll brief that momentarily, and then it is also the localizer 14 approach with a transition at Bacab. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. In fact, I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. If you hear a little bit of music in the background, I've got the monitor for my son, who's having a little quiet time in his room right now, but he's not really being very quiet. He's playing around in there. So we'll brief those in a moment anyway. We can do our initial reference here for the approach if we want. The runway's not super short, but we're going to do full flaps landing anyway. So we're going to select that. That will probably drop by about a knot by the time we get there. You guys have seen that before. So we're good on that. We are on VNAV, so it should start the descent automatically. So finishing up our descent checklist, then we verified the arrival and the approach on the FMC. The VNAV, the radios, all that stuff is set. I do have the ATIS 136.125 is tuned in. We're still not picking it up. So I pulled ATIS through the FMC, which I don't know how accurate it is, but I'll show you how you do that real quick. If you go to FMC.com, go to request. I didn't pull ATIS, I pulled the weather, the METAR. So I did a METAR request right there. We're just doing a fresh one right now. It does the uplink, and then if you go to received messages, you can see it's in there now. So if I click on that, that's for EDDF. We left there. We're looking at 240 at 15 is our wind, overcast at 2,700 feet. So it's going to be an interesting landing, and no matter which runway we take, it's going to be a crosswind landing. So that's always fun. I'm not too worried about it. It's going to be fun either way. And yeah, so we're good with that. Moving on here, transition altitude is it's 7,000 feet. So I need to try to remember 7,000 feet since I can't set it in here. Wing and engine anti-ice are on auto. Those need to remain there. Recall switch doesn't work. Auto brake as required. We'll probably use auto brakes too. And then we did the landing data, and so now we're going to do the arrival and the approach briefing. The reason we're doing the arrival and approach briefing is because I didn't do the arrival briefing yet. Even though technically we are on, actually we're not on the arrival, I apologize. We are, so the arrival for us is going to start at SKG, which is right here, so it works out well anyway. So get that back to the right page. Just to show you under VNAV here, this is where you would put the, if my brain will work here, transition altitude, right? But it doesn't let me put anything in there. I tried already. I promise I tried. So we can't put it in there. That's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Let's take a look at this arrival and this approach briefing really quick. It is going to be the Skagen. Forgive me for butchering names. I'm going to go with Skagen. Skagen 5U arrival out here at SKG or Skagen VOR. From there, it's down. Now, I had to put these waypoints in because there's this DME arc, but it wasn't showing up. So for us, it went from SKG right to the AND VOR. So all I did to put those in is very simple. I've shown you guys before. You've got the 202 degree radial here, and I think we're on the descent now. Let's just take a look. Yeah, we're on the descent, and we've got a descent path indicator, so that's good. You use the 202 degree radial, and you've got a distance here is 32.1, right? So you just put AND 202/32.1, and that puts in a custom waypoint at 32.1 nautical miles from AND. There's my son yelling in there. So you just set that up, set up the DME arc, and that takes us all the way. I got it to right here at the 311 degree radial out from the AND VOR, but I don't think we're going to quite get to that point, because if you look at our approach here, we're looking at the localizer 14 approach. Now again, it's going to be a crosswind approach no matter which way we're coming in. So we're at 240 over here. I mean, it's almost a dead crosswind approach actually, because this is 232 degrees coming across this way. So 240 is right here. So it might be a touch of a tailwind. Probably could have done the other runway, but we didn't. Okay, so looking at it here, the ATIS 136.125, tower on 18.2 or whichever one we're told to, and that's the approach tower, and then this is other tower frequencies. I'm not sure why it's set up like that, because they're all the same frequencies anyway. Localizer frequency is 109.35 with a final approach course of 142 degrees. Glide slope, it's not really a glide slope because it's not an ILS, but at OTROR, that's where we start our final descent. Decision altitude 350 feet or 324 feet AGL. Airport elevation is 46 feet with runway elevation at 26 feet on the approach end. If we have to do a missed approach, we're going to climb straight ahead on 142 degrees to 1,500 feet, then turn left direct to the VOR, and then enter hold and climb to 3,000. I'm just keeping an eye on my son at the same time here. He's just goofing off. Again, transition altitude 7,000 feet. So we can see what all this looks like here. This looks like it could be really confusing. It's not. If you come in over the VOR first, there's a procedure turn here. That's what this is. It's for a procedure turn. We're not doing that. We're going to come straight over to B-cab, Bay-cab, however you say it, and then bang a right, and then line up at that localizer, and then on in from there. Because you don't have ILS or a glide slope on this one, you can use your ground speed in knots here to give you an indicator. We'll probably be around 800 feet per minute. We should be right in the middle there. PAPI lights should be on both sides of the runway. We'll see how that works out. And yeah, that's about the gist of it there. You're supposed to have a runway visual range of 800 meters or 1,500 if the ALS is out. I think we're going to be good. The ALS isn't out. That's the lighting system, I believe. ALS, alignment lighting system. I could be a little bit wrong, but who knows. I did a whole thing on that, and it just I just don't do it often enough to remember everything. But that's the gist of it. That's your arrival. That's your approach briefing. Again, real quick, if you jump down here, if you went to your legs page, so I've removed them except for the AND 32. So all I did there was I put AND and then 202 and then come on, brain work. 202 and then slash and then the distance, 32 nautical miles, and then you select the line select key where you want to put it, and it puts the waypoint in there for you. Simple enough. Back to our approach page. That's it. That's everything as far as our approach is concerned. We're going to be on the approach before you know it, but there's no point to sit here and stare at it, so I'm going to break away for the moment, and then when we get close to making that turn, probably around Beckcab, because it's 5 miles from there to Robin, which is our initial approach fix, and turn towards final. So I'll see you when we get there. Alright folks, change of plans. Let's listen to the ATIS real quick. You'll see why.
Andoya Airport information, Charlie 2000 Zulu. Wind 229er at 27. Visibility 6. Sky condition, ceiling 1,900 feet overcast. Temperature 12. Dew point 10. Altimeter 30.14. Visual runway 14 in use. Landing and departing runway 14. DFR aircraft.
Okay, not gonna lie, a little frustrated there, and I'll tell you why. So it was the opposite runway. It was, and so I switched it up and I changed up the approach in the FMC as well, which you can see here. But my son, who I was keeping an eye on, started acting like a wild man. He obviously wanted to come out of his room, and so I changed, so I paused the sim. Yeah, let me just check this over here. Okay, we're gonna do OVBEX. So I paused the sim, and what happened was, in the time that from the time that I paused the sim until now, let me go to legs here, and we're gonna go from where we're at direct to OVBEX. It's not gonna make that turn very well though. Watch this though. Check this out. So our we need to be 322 is what I'm looking for. Watch this. I'm gonna put another waypoint in there right now. So we're gonna go from OVBEX 322/5, and I'm gonna put that before OVBEX. Oh no, I got it backwards. Now watch, when I erase it, it's gonna put it in there anyway. Oh no, it didn't. Last time it did. I got the wrong. It's 142. So OVBEX 142/5, and we're gonna put that in there. There we go. That's what we want right there. Execute. Okay, see, that just makes that turn a little bit better for us. We're already below transition altitude here, so everything starts happening quick when this happens, right? 3014, she said. So 3014, that's pretty high. Let's take standard off. 3003. That's high pressure. There we go. 3014. Hold on, I'm scratching my ear over here. It's hard to do with a headset on. Okay, right now we are below our glide path here, or our descent path. So it turns out the approach brief remains the same. Look at that cloud cover. Oh, that is gorgeous. That is gorgeous. And I am recording right now. I got that external recorder which is recording so that I can do cinematic. So hopefully I can get all that cloud cover in the cinematic too. It looks absolutely gorgeous though, doesn't it? Look at that. And then we're about to descend right into that too. So looking at our legs here real quick, it is 1500 at Robum, which is correct. And so we're just going to leave that on there. We're set to 1500 on there. The terrain does not work on this, just so that you know. I will say this though, there is terrain below us that we can't see right now. So if we were worried about it, what we could do is you could just go altitude hold for where we're at right now. But I'm not too worried about it because we're almost directly over the airfield, so we should be clear of that terrain already. Anyway, let's take a look at our approach briefing, or before landing checklist, if you will, not our approach briefing. We didn't turn landing lights on. See, I got distracted by my son. That's part of being a parent though, right? You gotta take care of the kids. I don't have any issue with that. I know you guys don't either. Look at that, skimming through those clouds. Come on, you guys gotta be, that's awesome. We gotta look at this outside real quick. I don't normally do this view, especially when we're getting close to approach, but look at that, skimming along the clouds there. That's pretty cool. That's beautiful. That's gonna make for a gorgeous cinematic if I can get it just right. Okay, speed brakes need to be armed. That's these guys here. Looks like they were already armed, or not. Speed brakes armed. Okay, let's go ahead and bring the first setting of flaps in as well. Start slowing the aircraft down. So this is the issue with arming the speed brakes, right? We're below our descent path right now, so I'm not overly concerned about slowing the aircraft down too quick. It's fine. Let's go to flaps 5 though, and we are going to have to put speed brakes out there. Actually, the airplane just doesn't want to slow down. So I'm going to take control of the speed and I'm going to bring it down to 200. Yeah, I know it's overspeed because for whatever reason the computer doesn't want to do what it's supposed to do. Okay, so bring it down to 200 for the moment. There we go. Well, I got the speed brakes out for the moment. What else we got here? Seatbelt signs are on, altimeter set. And that's pretty much it for the checklist. Pretty straightforward. We can see something on the ground down there, which just proves that we're a lot closer than we thought we were, huh? 2,000 feet. Oh, how terrible would it be if we like ran into a mountain? It sucks that the terrain mode doesn't work on here.
2,500.
Okay, well we know we're 2,500 above the ground right now. We should be alright here. I mean, I'm looking over here on the map, on the chart, and we should be clear of the high terrain at this point. So I'm not overly concerned about it. That's our current AGL right there, so just below 2,000 feet at the moment. And so that's pretty close to what we're seeing on the altitude indicator here as well. So you can just make out the ground there. Yeah, we're looking good. Everything's looking fantastic. I want to bring that speed down some more though. Let's bring it down to 185. Let's bring it down to 180. And we'll bring in that next setting of flaps. Alright, looking good. Okay, now we are 109.35. Just so you know, you got to put that down in here. Let's go to approach first. I told you guys it would go to 156. It did. If you go to the nav radio, 109.35. That's now it showed localizer 14, but I had actually put the frequency in there myself. Final approach course is 142 degrees. We can put that in there as well. There we go. That VOR that I put in there, that's the AND VOR. Not bad. We're looking good here, despite having to jump through a couple of hoops. The aircraft does... Why is the speed brake still extended? I put it up. I must have bumped it or something. Because it's telling me over here it's extended. I just now noticed it. Ugh. I'm doing a terrible job on this approach. Alright, let's try and arm that again. Okay, one more time here. Speed brake armed. There we go. I like to see it move, right? Okay, so 1500. We should be holding that until we get around to... Otror is probably how you say it. We do have visibility though, so that's good. Oh, look, that's beautiful out there. This is gonna make one of the most beautiful cinematics if I can get it to work out right. I'll be super stoked about it. Let me get to the proper view here and just make sure that my track IR is working properly. A little jump here, I'm sure. Centered up. Now, just so you know, it does lean with the, you can see that it's coming back slowly, right? So it leans with the opposite direction of the aircraft. Okay, let's go ahead and slow it down. What are we looking for again here? Initial reference, approach. We're looking for 156 as our final approach speed. So we're not doing too bad here. I'm gonna go ahead and let's go ahead and bring flaps 20. I think we can go to flaps 20 without the gear down. And I'm going to bring this down to 165. And then ultimately we're going to end up going to 161. So we're only going to go a little bit slower than this. And that's going to be our approach speed, and then our landing speed should be 156. You guys understand how that works? If you don't, let me know in the comments. I'll explain it to you. Coming up on Ovbex here. Just a couple miles left to get to Ovbex. Man, that sun breaking through there just looks fantastic, doesn't it? This is going to be a beautiful approach. I've never landed here before. We do have a really strong crosswind, as you can see. And it's shifting around, like it's 231, 232, 233. It's going to end up being a tailwind at the rate it's going. But we're just going to have to deal with it at this point. I think we'll be all right. We've got, what's our runway length? 9,849 feet of usable runway, so I think we're going to be fine. Let's go ahead and drop that landing gear now. Gears coming down. Just waiting for the green indicator right here. There we go. Gears down in green. Everything's looking good. All of our lights are on as they should be, even though I missed them and didn't get them there on time. Boy, it overshot that turn bad, didn't it? Look at that. It really overshot that turn, which is going to make it rather interesting coming in here. Okay, let's go ahead and before we make our turn to final, I want to be at our final speed here and configured. So let's get flaps to 25. We'll be fine. So we're going to be doing about 160 knots, and so about 850 feet per minute is going to be our rate of descent here. I am curious if it will descend on its own, even though it's just a localizer. So I'm going to put this down to 200 feet. Right? See how that looks. So we're on VNAV path, so let's see if it does. I'm just curious. If the waypoints have a altitude programmed into them, then it will. Let's go ahead and go flaps full now. Get back to the proper view here. And track hour coming on. That was a big jump there, wasn't it? I changed it to this smooth setting, which is supposed to make it a little less choppy when I move my head around. So hopefully that works out. It's a little dark. Visibility's not great right now. But I think we're going to be just fine. We should make this turn without any issues. You can see for our VREF speed, we've got a lot of room here before we get close to stall speed. So that's a bonus there. We're heavy. Remember, that's a big thing here. We are super heavy, guys. So we're landing faster, but it's also taking a lot of thrust to keep this aircraft at the speed that we want it to stay at. So, all right, making our turn here at Robum and then Otror, which is, I don't know if that's what they got programmed in here. Yeah, Otror comes after CL14. So that's where it should start the descent, at Otror. So we'll see how that works out. Obviously, I didn't initially plan to come in here when I did, but, you know, obviously with, you know, keeping an eye on my son, that's obviously a priority. So having to pause it has got me throwing off my game a little bit. Why is it climbing right now? Did you see that? It climbed up to 1,700 feet for some reason. Not sure why that is. Let me look at this legs page here. Everything's 1,500 at or above. That should be a hard 1,500 though. Not 1,550. 1,500. That should be a hard 1,500. So, and of course it's fighting to get on track here. Let's hit the localizer. We've got it tuned in. Did it grab it? FAC. What is FAC? Oh my gosh, this airplane is just struggling to get on the right path here, isn't it? Look at this. There's the runway right there. Where is this thing going? we're configured for landing, but holy guacamole, I don't know if this thing's gonna be ready to land here. Okay, here's Otror, so it should start descending on its own. We'll see. I don't know if it will. It's struggling. It's a strong crosswind. That doesn't help. So you can see that's straight ahead, right? But we're pointed this way because we've got a 31 to 30 knot crosswind. Okay, it is descending. So I'm going to let it descend a little bit. I'm just curious to see. It does descend. And it's at 800 feet per minute, 750. So, I mean, it's pretty close to being on path. So, and it looks like we're going to miss the runway. You can see we're starting to creep back over to the left a little bit there because we're definitely wide to the right. But if you fly this properly, it should work out just fine. So, all right, my turn. Okay. Auto throttle's off. All right. Let's keep her descending. That's a little quick though. Yeah, we obviously need to crab, but not that much. There we go. That's where we need to be. This airplane does not fly on the autopilot well at all. Continue the descent. We've got a good visual though. Oh, that wind is just kind of all over the place, isn't it? I don't know, maybe it did better than me. Looking good. That's 900 feet per minute. Just bringing in just a touch of trim.
500.
See, that wind is so gusty.
400.
So it's 14 knots now. Okay, let's listen to our callouts because they're really quiet.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
That was a rough... It wasn't that bad, actually, believe it or not. Where is this thing going? Holy cow. reverse thrusters. Wow, that wind just really sucked it over to that side hard. Like last second, it got really ugly. That was on me more than it was the aircraft, though. That was definitely on me more than the aircraft. And it was a bit of a tailwind. I mean, just look at that windsock. It's almost dead straight across, though, isn't it? Okay, you gonna stop here? Wow. Running out of runway here. I thought I would be able to take that taxiway back there, but obviously not. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and taxi it in, guys. You don't need to stare at the taxi. I'm sure you don't want to. It is beautiful here, though. So I'm gonna taxi it in, then we're gonna shut everything down, and we'll wrap this one up. Sound good? Yeah, you can just about guarantee they have never had an aircraft this large here. So as soon as we put the brakes on, it said ground power was available. So I'm going to take it. We're going to go ahead and shut down both engines. And just taking a look at our shutdown checklist. Did I turn the taxi light off when I came in? I did not. We got the strobe lights off. Wing lights can go off. With the engines off, we can take the beacon off. We'll leave the nav light on because we have ground power on the aircraft. Fuel pumps can go off. Those are all good. Window heat can go off. External power is on. APU is fine as it is. We're not going to turn that on. What else we got here? Flight director switches can go off. And they're both linked together, so you just click one and they both go off. And then the anti-ice can come off as well, which is these guys. Remember, these are weird. They go, you got to click on the up to get them to go left and on the down to get them to go right. It's kind of weird, but anyway. We're not going to go to cold and dark on this, so that takes care of shutting down the aircraft, and that means that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Not my finest landing ever. That got a little rough. Like, it started to float on me right before we got over the threshold, and it was a little bit of a pain in the butt. It was a tough landing. But actually, the landing rate was like minus 278, so I didn't land really, really hard, but man, as soon as those wheels got down on the ground, that thing pulled hard into the wind, didn't it? So yeah, it was a little rough, but we got her in there, and we managed to complete a flight without too much difficulty. So again, CaptainSim 777. Gotta be honest, I'm really disappointed with the route that they took with this. I think they could have done so much better. I think that company has a lot more talent available to them, and I'm just really disappointed in what they chose to do. But nonetheless, it is a 777 in the new flight sim, so we have that available to us, and we are definitely going to be doing more flights in this thing because I just love flying a 777, and I love going into difficult places. This was a difficult airport. So with that in mind, departing out of here will have to be a little lighter, but I'd like to depart from here, and I'd like to know from you guys where you'd like to go next. So if you know of an airfield that's difficult to get into, whether it's because it's got a relatively short runway, a lot of terrain, or crazy winds, or something like that, that you want to see us fly a cargo 777 into, 777F, you let me know down in the comments, and we'll start making a list, and let's do it. Let's just do it, and let's have a good time with it. If you think that I've earned it, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down there. Click on the bell if you'd like to get notifications. I'm looking at trying to do some different things with the channel, so I love the feedback that I get from you guys. Let me know in the comments if you have suggestions, complaints, anything like that. That's fine. Just keep it nice, keep it clean. No need to be nasty. I don't really get that on my channel much anyway, so I'm really grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all of you. You guys are all fantastic. I love you guys. You guys are just great. You're the reason that I keep doing this. You're the reason that I came back to. I was motivated to come back and do this when I finally got the opportunity. And so I just want to say a special thank you to all of you. That's it. That's all and no more, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, as always, keep the blue side up, unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all, and have an absolutely wonderful day.